My name is Hans-Peter. I come from Norway. I'm a FreeBSD developer, maybe Linux worst enemy, or also sometimes a good friend. I've designed a computer software called MIDI Player Pro, as you can see on the screen. It's basically becoming more and more advanced. It's a software that's text-based, where you kind of write music instead of drawing it. And I'm going to show more of this program. And after I played a small track, I made a tone using this program. So I'm going to you will have a 4-minute listening, and now we will continue. Okay, now there will be some theory. How is this possible? I'm not educated in music. I never took a piano class. However, I have 5 years of computer science. I'm a programmer. I do a lot of C programming, C++, how can I play the piano that well without really going to school for ages? Well, I'm going to start explaining a bit what MidiPlayerPro is about. When you're learning to play piano, there are basically 3 things you need to know. You need to know when you press the key, you need to know which key to press, and how hard you should press it. It's not like you just put your fingers down, it should be either hard or soft. There are many ways to do it. And this kind of learning is taking a lot of effort because you need to change your brain to make this sequences rapidly. And as you might know, there are many kinds of chords. So you have also have many advanced variants of chords. And this makes playing the piano a bit harder for a beginner. And I thought many years ago that, yeah, I would try to make the barrier for playing the piano a bit lower. And so I thought, yeah, let's remove one component. Let's remove this key thing and just think about the time and the pressure. And that's what basically all of this program, MidiPlayerPro, is about. That we only focus on time, pressing a key, any key, and how hard you press the key. And this way you can kind of release resources in your brain and focus directly on the rhythm of the song you're playing. MidiPlayerPro is a program that remap the keys on your piano. It's important you switch off local sound on the piano so that when you press the key, it doesn't output sound on your piano. And then my program will receive the keys via MIDI cable, and it will translate the keys and send it back to the piano, and the piano will generate sound. There are basically a few variants of these translations. The most nice sounding one, in my opinion, is the Chord Mode translation. It basically uses the piano keys like this, or reorganize them like this, but you have 2 groups of keys. The C, D, E keys are used for bass only. Here you're playing the bass with the thumb. And the C is left dead, so that you don't miss and go down the top. And the F, G, A, H keys, those are left for treble. And the black keys continue beyond H. So after if you're going to play a scale, it will be the F, G, A, H, and then B, G minor, A minor, H minor. No, H, I don't know. It's a cross front, you know. I'm not an expert with this. So it's like this one, this one, this one, this one, and then this one, this one, this one. And then you get the scale where you have the darker tones down here, and the lighter tones is up on the highest black one. This also has an interesting side effect that it's like compressing the keyboard, removing all the keys you don't use. You know you're going to play a C chord, so hey, I don't really need the D key, I don't need the F, G key, or A key, or H key. I can just remove them. And the result is we can now compress 3 octaves of a chord into a single area here. So if you count, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 7 divided by 3 rounded up is 3 octaves. So that gives you an advantage too, that you can play impossible chord combinations. That you can kind of play a very high tone together with some lower tones that belongs to the same chord. And this maybe is something you've heard when you heard the music in the beginning, that it doesn't, there's something about it. It's not like regular piano. It's something special about it. That it has some peculiarities. Another interesting thing is that playing this way, where the scale and keys are reordered in the piano, means that you move your hands less, you move your fingers less, and that of course means if you're a professional player on the piano, you reduce the chance of injuring your hands, muscles, and so on when you play a lot. Yeah. So this is the basic theory behind my MIDI Player Pro. And then I'm going to go into the software a bit and try to explain how to use it. So what you see on the screen now is kind of, that's all the software is. It has like the front page, you select like different tabs, and you can, depending on what you want to do, and you select, it's like the file menu. So I'm going to tell a little bit about how MidiPlayerPro relates to note information. This is most similar to scientific note definitions. That means you have the note, like C, D, E, F, G, and you have a number. And this number tells in which octave that the key is belonging. And for example, this first line tells you that at this point in a tune, we're only playing the C3, the C4, the C5, the D5, the E5, B. And MidiPlayerPro automatically recognizes the two first notes as bass notes. So in this case, the C3 and the C4 are bass notes, and they're kind of put on the lower scale, which I talked about, the C, D, E keys. And then the C5, D5, E5, B are recognized as treble notes. And they are kind of just filled out. So you see there's only 3 here, and I talked here about there was 7 keys, so it kind of moves the lowest, the C5 up to C6, and fills in and moves the D5 up to C6. So it kind of rotates the chord up to fill in the full 7 keys that you have available. This software also has another interesting feature, that it allows you to easily look up and edit a chord. So given you played something, you can have MidiPlayerPro suggest something. What is this chord? What does it look like? You can maybe even try it out. You can change it to something else. And then you can insert it, but I'm not going to do that right now. So you maybe have a reaction, why is there a C hat? I've never seen a C hat chord before. What is that? Well, when I was doing this program, I put up a big table of chords, and I found out that there was some chords that wasn't possible to write. I put up a table with all combinations with 3 keys on the piano keyboard, and I found out exactly 3 chords were not named somehow. So these are now named and or an X order. And just for the sake of if you're wondering. And the rest is like in regular note signs. So you have a sus or you have an add. And you have a og, a dim, and major and minor. And you also have a slash to recognize the bass. So yeah. So MidiPlayerPro also can organize music. For example, here you see there's a label, L0. So for example, if you have a verse, you can press the magic key and it will jump. It will jump to the, let's see, it's on. if it will jump, you can jump between verses easily using the piano. And this can be handy to avoid repeating all the notes. For example, you have a repeating song, you play the verse 9 times, you play the refrain 10 times. You can also make a jump, like you have in the beginning section. You cannot make for loops, unfortunately. So it's very simple language, all text-based, no magic. And you can write comments. These are actually comments, so these don't have any meaning. This is just regular comment. I'm going to play this song a bit slowly, so you can maybe see what's going on. So I now have a MIDI piano here on this side, and in the Play tab, I've selected Chord Mode for the piano. And besides from that, the playback, the recording, and score recording, it's all off. So playing the first chord after that 0, you just choose on your piano an octave to start with, and then you press like you're playing a D minor. So now I'm playing the C hat on the top, and then I can use the black keys, for example. Make the melody on top. And of course, with some kinds of music, this is very difficult because the melody is not always a part of the chord. But this is very nice if, for example, typical pop music, where the melody is part of the chord. So you can kind of make up the melody easier, or you can improvise. It's very nice for improvising. And another problem comes, I play the first chord, but how do I switch to the next one? Well, that's very easy, because the software is organized that it uses 2 octaves besides each other. So that when you start playing in the lower octave, it will remember that. Now I'm playing in the lower octave. And then when you switch to the upper octave, it will see, you moved your hand and now press the key in the upper octave. And then it will automatically fetch the next chord. And then it will play the next one, and then you just swap back. And then swap again. So I don't have a pedal here, so it doesn't sound all perfect, but I assume you will bear over with that. But if I'm going to play this a bit, you maybe see, maybe some of you in the front will see what I'm doing. But this is not a concert. I like music too, I play a lot at home, and I could have a concert too, but I'm trying to learn you a little bit. So this is kind of the basic way I'm playing pop music. Sometimes I go to other songs with some people and we have fun entertaining the others. Sometimes we do go other places and entertain them. And this is the way I kind of started getting very interested in music, and I very much appreciate good music. Sometimes when you're playing a tune, it's not enough to only see the chords. So this software also supports that you can associate a text with the song. So on the right side, you see the text version. And on the left side, you see the editable source format I'm using. So on the left side, you can edit, and on the right side, you can only view. And on the right side, you can print into a nice PDF and distribute to your singers, whatever. And the graphical version, it has a dot, a red dot on the next note. And there's a green one on the currently being played. So you can actually combine those two, that someone can look over your shoulder when you're doing a performance, and they will see where you are and know exactly that there is a dot. For example, this dot means the pressure of the chord should be exactly above the I in the shining word. So when you're shining, it should be on the hit on the I. And this kind of, it's not possible with the text format. This is done in a graphical way that I put a dot there. So it's not like the text dot, it's something special, graphically wise. So if I was to play this one, it will go like this. Let's see. This can be a very nice tool. You know, you don't necessarily have to use a MIDI piano as an input device, but for me it works best with the piano. You can experiment with other kind of input devices too. I also have another way of playing music. It's more simple. It's maybe for people that are really, really basic with music. And in this mode, you only press one key when you're playing. Let's see if I can find what I'm thinking about. So this is actually a German folk tune. Dein Gedanken sind frei. So let me try to play this. And then I have to switch the mode by pressing this little window here. I switch to another mode. In this mode, it's the same principle, except I don't have the freedom to play the melody. I only have the freedom to play the single chord or melody note. And I'm going to explain a little bit what this notation means. First, I'm just going to play slowly this tune. And this is another way of playing. It has a different sounding. So yeah. Exactly. That's a very good point, and that's what I was about to say, that you cannot use this if you're totally dead about music. You need to be rhythmic person. So you saw that I was only looking at the piano because I know this, I trained it, you know. I don't need to look at this sheet to see. I know it's like, I don't know. And that's where you can have people that, I can tell. Sorry, I hope I didn't broke down. So, that's where you can have people that can tap the tune on their trousers, you know, and be happy that they maybe can also play this stuff, you know, and that opens up that more people can be active creating music, playing music, instead of just copying music onto their players. Yes?
So it's 1D. There's a 1D option.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, there should be a one-dimension. Oh, you're absolutely right. So you're ahead of the time.
Or 0D.
Now, 0D doesn't usually work. If you have a computer do everything, it doesn't sound good. It's not good sounding. So you need that human input, and the least human input you can have is the rhythm. That's the time. Right? So what I'm going to do is just briefly explain this format I'm using. This K is just a command, it's just an effect, so I'm not going to explain that. But this U is not a valid note. So, and the U and the number means that duration. The notes after the U all have a duration of 1. That means they are released at this next line. And here we see we have a U4. That means that A3 and A4 and D5B, they should last until the next chord is pressed, because they're bass notes. And you can separate on the same line, so you can say that some notes should last longer than the others. So this is like the melody, it should be released for every step, but the other ones should not. And if you make a mistake with this format, the software will just ignore it. So there's no danger overlapping that. For example, if you put the wrong duration here and use the key again, it will release it for you and stuff. So it's quite safe. So what you see here is basically you have some bass. And I release, so every sound is gone. Now I press the next time. So I'm not touching anything, and these 3 notes are still hanging, like I was using sustain. And they are still there. And now they go because they lasted all the durations. And this way you can easily digitize common music around classical, whatever. And for those that are playing really fast, I have a fixed mode. So you can kind of use both your fingers, because using only one finger is really slowing down the tempo. So you maybe know Furelisa. And this is what you see now on the right is about almost everything my program can do with this historical notation of music. So that's all I can do. So now I change to fixed mode, and I'm going to play Furelisa, a little bit of it at least. I need to put the paddle on because I don't have a paddle, so I will just fake the paddle here. Let's see if that. Really good playing the piano, I have the all mode. And now the behavior of the piano is normal, but don't forget that it's not translated anymore. So now you can play like before, those that are old-fashioned or old school. I don't know what to say without hurting anyone. So the other modes here, I'm not going to say so much about it. It's more for advanced use. This program also allows you to record at the same time you're playing something. There is a kind of button here. You can set recording to on, and it starts the recording at the first key press or pedal event. So you can kind of record everything and store it as a regular MIDI file. And open it, maybe you want to use it in GarageBand or some sequencer in Linux, wherever. You know when you process it later. And then you can choose among recording only or recording with playback. You can also playback things like a backtrack while you're recording. Another interesting feature is to find unknown chords. I mentioned something about a chord editor. So for example, if you have a chord on the piano, say you're creating music, and you know, I want this frequency and this frequency and this frequency, so that's the songwriter. It should sound like this. Okay, so then you typically say, okay, it's this key, this key, and this key. Okay, but I don't know which chord this is at all. So, but this program can figure this out and suggest, yes, it's a G7 sus2 with the D in the bass. And then it can help you find the chords for the music you're looking for. So this software kind of have multiple ways of use. And also I have kind of graphical piano where you can kind of test without having a real piano, though it's only there for testing. Another feature in my music is that you can import lyrics from Ultimate Guitar, for example, or other lyric sites on the internet. And all you need is kind of like the text, and song. This is a song, maybe in English. This is a song. And it needs to be formatted correctly. So, and then my software can import this format and create a song file from that. So I go in under the lyrics and select 2 A scores. Now my program will just put some chords there, but it doesn't know how high or low they are. So I have a kind of function that can say align. You can either do a selection or it does everything, and then you can align all the chords, but the no chords should have a key above F in the 5th octave or some other note. And you can say, okay, align. That's an easy way to put all of the chords in a song in a certain frequency range. I also have some features to easily put crosses, switch crosses with these. And this is something I added later on. I usually get some comments from real musicians about things. This is something I added, get from one of those comments that when you're using crossover, it should be like that all the song. And if you're using these, it should be these throughout the song. You can also do the opposite. You can export a song back with chords, and then copy it back to Ultimate Guitar or whatever, and then you can do just the text for the songbook, for example. You can also import MIDI files. If you have a recording, you can print it out and you can play it. And there's also a simple word replacer. There are some more advanced features, but I think right now I'm not going to go into those details because it will really lengthen on this. So are there any questions? Yes?
Yeah, so you basically need 2 octaves. You need a 2 octaves keyboard and then you're fine, right?
Yes, that's right.
Because the first setup which showed was the most interesting way you can jam from nothing.
Yes.
So I would be interested in how do you start, like, okay, I press 3 keys, which generates me the letter.
If you want to use a smaller piano, you need to go into the configuration. So I have a view A mode, and here you kind of can move where the playing ranges start. So you can kind of move them down or up, depending on what you need.
No, I mean the first setup you had, you press only 1 key, right?
Oh, in that key where you press only 1 key. Yeah, this key is defined, but it's also the same for chord mode. So the play key also has meaning for chord mode and this fixed mode where you only use 1 key.
No.
So you just go in the view A mode and you can move the key around on the piano. For example, this piano is quite big, but in theory you're done with, you need 3 octaves usually. You need 1 octave for some magic commands, and then you need 2 others to play. So you can buy really small piece of keyboard and do quite interesting things. So I'm not the person that can use both my hands, but I would imagine a person really good could have now 2 pianos and play simultaneously with 2 hands with full bass on 2 different instruments. So there are some aspects, or even if you have a very long piano, it's possible also to have 2 persons sit next to each other. And you can have them play the same song. There are 2 views, there's the A view and the B view. And you can have 2 persons sit next to each other, and they can kind of rehearse, train, on the same piano too. Yeah. Any more questions? Was that answer?
I was basically interested in how you quickly come to this to a jam setup. You said like you press 3 tones.
Well, what you do usually you need to find the song. So if we find this chord mode thing, so we do the pop and we can do crazy. So first you need to open up the file, and right now I didn't put the configuration of the software into the file, so you need to configure it afterwards yourself. This is something that's a bit under development, but still quite stable. So I haven't really spent a lot of effort to making it fully user friendly. So then you need to switch manually. For the view A, you need to go through here and switch. Okay, now I want to play the jam mode. Where you, for example, or you want to have the single pass mode. You just switch. So it doesn't matter what file you have. You just switch the mode as you want to play.
Okay.
Yes, there was something here. Yes.
What is auto melody?
Auto melody is, for example, it's a helper function. So let's see if we can show an example. I have too many songs. Let's see here. Let's take a Swedish one. Locked and dark. I don't know if it has English then. So here you have a tune. So auto melody, for example, we can have a selection here. Auto melody can either be permanently done by pressing the auto melody 1 or 2. It's 2 different ways to do auto melody. So, or you can use a command like K42 or 1. So it basically means that when you have a single melody tone in the song, you have some sheet of music, enter everything into the software and the text file, but you don't want to add all the second harmony notes. For example, it doesn't. For example, if I remove this auto melody, so you will maybe hear the difference. So now it's without auto melody. So da 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 da. Those are simple. It's like one and one. But if I now auto melody this, we can do the two since it was like that. Then the software goes back to the chord line. What it thinks is the chord line. And if it sees there's an E in the melody, for example, it goes back and see, do I see another tone that is further down, which I can pick from the parent or last chord line and just add. So it sounds a little bit more interesting. So let's see. You maybe hear that there's now two notes instead of one. And this just makes adds a little bit harmony for those that don't really want to play like they do in the school. Or if I were to play this without this program, I would play a lot quite bad, I think. But with this program, it becomes more easy, and it's just a kind of effect, you can call it. Okay, was that the answer? More questions?
Yes, I saw a directory called drums.
Yes. This program can also do drums. I can show, but you will not listen, I think. So let's see. It's not this fixed mode. So you can kind of make drum patterns, and then you can say that you can have a Ppm generator, and that means you can make the software press a key automatically. And then maybe let's see here. I don't have it quite set up for this, but if you have a drum synthesizer, maybe we can do it with the synth sub effects. Let's see here. Output to this one, and we can. So let's just explain that. So we go to synth sub effects, and we can go in some. It doesn't have any drum patterns, so let's see. It has only one, and we can use that one. So it doesn't sound so good, but the idea is that you can play your song in an A view, and then you can have the drum kit in the B view, and it will synchronize with the labels. So when you in the A view goes to a new label, the drum kit you can put a new sequence for another label. So if I, for example, switch. It's not so easy to hear. But you see, it's kind of. So you can also do drums. And the advantage here is that you get millisecond precision. You can record a pattern with drums on the piano, and then you can kind of convert it to a sequence in text format, and then you can add it, maybe fix some things, maybe you press the wrong pattern, and you can make kind of, this M is like a macro, so you can kind of say that I want to expand the 11 label and the 10 label. I want to merge them together, so you can have two different patterns, and you can merge or not merge. Yeah. Okay? Any more questions over there?
Yeah. In the mode where you play two octaves to change the pattern.
Yes?
Of course, you have to, if you play with, you have to play with two hands, so you have to leave the keys. And I noticed, of course, the MIDI out signal is sent then, so you have to get, is it possible to use a sustain panel to fill the...
Yeah, of course. I just don't have one. I should have had one, yes. if you have a sustain pedal, it will pass that through, yes?
Yeah.
So you fill the gap between the chords, of course.
Yeah.
It's just that I forgot to mention to the organizer they should give me a sustain pedal too. So, yes, that's also.
So it's a bit more organic.
Yeah, as you listened in the beginning, 4 minutes, it's completely with sustain. Yes, over there.
So you have a lot of music files here, a lot of songs, like really a lot.
Yeah, several hundred tunes.
So you made these all yourself by hand?
Many of these old tunes is copied by hand from books, various sources, and I don't publish them because of rights and stuff like that regarding who owns the music. Some of them are very old and there are no rights about it. But a lot of the other tunes I have is available. I have a database here which people can kind of download, and they get all the chord version. That's basically fetched from the internet like lyrics with chords on top, and I just copy it in. And I think that's not so critical. That when you put the full melody, which really can reconstruct the whole song.
How do you copy them? When you copy them? I mean,
Well,
are you copying
what I do is I usually buy a songbook which has the sheet music, like you say, with all the information, notes, typically also with chords on top. That helps a lot. And then I just enter it one by one. I start at the top, chord, note, chord, note, and if I want, I can also add the text. I can show you one example of this. Let's see here. Chords Mode, it's called. Let's see here. These are mostly more classical songs that people put text to. So here you see a song that has melody. It's really full melody and text. So it's then I have to reconfigure this little software because I don't want to be drum machine anymore. And I don't want auto melody either. So I want this off. And that's so it will be like. And then you can follow it on the screen too. Copied directly from a songbook. I bought the songbook with this song, and I just copied it, wrote it like text, and I used to think that maybe people making these songbooks could have files like this that they can sell, so that artists and others that maybe want to play these songs can do it in a quick and easy way. So I kind of want to standardize this format too.
What are these songs?
Yeah, that's the idea too. I have a full-day job. I'm very occupied, and it's a possibility I can make someone do this too. Yeah, it's a possibility. So yeah. Some more questions? Yes.
Yeah. So you said it's just text file format. So
It's just a text file.
Okay, so it's open.
You will see everything that's there. It's no binary stuff. You can even store it in a Word document, but you might use some format then.
And the software license is what's the license?
It's 3 cost PSP license. So in the Apple shop I sell it, but they have to pay for it. But if they want the binary, they have to pay, but if they can build themselves, it's fine. They can download and change it. I appreciate if you have a patch or a new feature. Yes?
Do you have any sales?
If I have any
sales on the
Yes, yes. Actually, there has been a rising amount of sales throughout the years. I think I had an application in App Store for iPad and Mac, I think 2 years now. And I think I sold enough that it covered the license for the Xcode, and I got a little plus. Though the Apple way of doing it is costing me a lot of extra effort. I much more prefer when I can just submit a tarball to a Linux distro or FreeBSD ports, and I do all the building. I don't have to worry about anything. But Apple is, it's costing a lot of extra work, and I wish they could just accept the source code and build themselves. So yeah, and it seems to be a rising interest. There was a guy that wrote to me from Australia, said that some Casio pianos had a feature called two-finger play, that you can play something on the piano and then you can replay it using only two fingers. So I made something similar here to that used my way of doing it. It kind of resembled, it's like a replay feature. You play something on the piano, and for example, we can try it out. Start MIDI recording. Something like that. And then we're finished, and then we have to report this. Then we need to configure, and then we can start rehearsing. This is just another example of a feature request, because I'm an engineer. I don't know what the users out there need, what's smart, how they work, anything. So this was the result of a request from a user. And I would like to have more such requests. So from people using this software. And he was very happy about that I could implement this quickly instead of he having to go through some menus and mouse pushing in this software. Okay, any more questions? I guess there must be more questions.
You show this program to pianists, real pianists?
Yes, I have shown it to real pianists, yes, and real pianists tend to say yes. This is something you can use when the singers are rehearsing, that they can download the software, and when they rehearse, they can go step the song and rehearse their voice. Like in this part is exactly this tone, and they can train themselves. But I haven't yet seen a real pianist admit he needs the software. But I'm guessing that's the next step. Any more questions? Yes?
Yeah. Are there any formats besides MIDI you can import?
Yes, you can import basically from lyrics, you can import from Guitar Pro. It's not that much tested, but I found some way to parse Guitar Pro files, and I just added it to the software for fun. So basically what you can do, import and export is all in here. More questions? It's been tested a lot, so you probably won't find the feature you really won't miss it. Yeah. An advantage about having a text-based way of working is, for example, you can cut and paste. For example, you can duplicate regions quite easily, repeat them, and you can do undo and redo also. So say you did something wrong, okay, I just undo it, or yes, I regret undoing it. And this way of working is quite fast. And if I would compare this with another mouse pushing software where you kind of draw notes and all of that, it becomes far more work for your hand creating the music. So what I think is that text-based music is a good way of quickly working through music files and editing, instead of like you have I never use so many other programs, but I imagine you have to go in the menu and say, no, I want to change the note and blah, blah, blah. And that if you have a text file, you can even use a script of your own. You can open this text file in Emacs and run a keyboard macro on your music. Like you want to do some tricks, swap something, search for something. It opens up a huge amount of possibilities. And when I said Emacs, yes, why not Ppm Generator music? Just output it like this, in a text file, just generate it, open it in MidiPlayerPro, and then start experimenting with it. So there are a lot of possibilities here with text files that you don't get with this XML or proprietary files like the other guys are doing. Are there more questions? I can also mention here that you can individually tune the volume of the instruments. Like you can so that you can have some extra gain or less gain if you want. Yeah. And I also have a looper in my software. Why not go there as well? So if you want to make a looping pattern, that's quite interesting. We need to set it to Chord Mode. So looping feature on, then we can record the looper and see, I think just the trigger. So now I recorded a loop, and now it's ready. So now I want to use this loop. Let's see. So that means you can kind of convolute the pattern. I just made it, so that was, maybe you find an idea that you can use this for something that you can make something. It's like you can convolute and you can have some magic there happening when the timing is right, and when the timing is not right, then you don't hear anything. So I also have like a karaoke version that you can kind of have this text in a separate window and show on another screen. So some people can sit and only see the text and kind of follow it. But it's not so much text. It's there, but yeah, it's not so much text. And also, I have the possibility you can add a bunch of shortcuts. Adding a shortcut is like pressing the record button, and then you can press it whatever you want on your MIDI keyboard, and then that function will be bound to this MIDI command. So whenever the software sees a certain MIDI command, it will do this thing which is mentioned here. So it's kind of like automation of the program, so you don't need to go into the software and press something all the time. There's a help page. Maybe I should have mentioned that first. It's a help page which describes the format I'm using, text file format, and all the features. And also I have a list of chords, list of supported chords. So these are the unique ones I support. And currently there are 206 unique chords, and there are 940 variants of those 240 unique chords. So there's quite a lot of chords out there with variants, and I've sorted this list by length, so that the shortest chords come first. It tries to make it shortest possible. And you can also change the instrument on the MIDI channel, and you can mute it. There's also various ways you can remove an instrument. For example, if you have a synthesizer that doesn't understand MIDI channels, you can go in the configuration and say, I don't want to send channel 3 to this synthesizer because it takes all channels as a single channel. And you can have some yes, no, mute this, mute that. So, more questions for someone eager to try? So, okay, so I think think we will call it an end. And those that want to try down here can come down afterwards. Okay, thank you for coming here and watching my show.